Live, Freddy Faz. Why? Have I got the wrong title again? I will. Oh, I'm not even here. Wait. Um. Yeah. How much of my Discord did I just show? Oh, like nothing. That's fine. That's fine. Are we live on TikTok as well? TikTok does not seem to want to be live. Ah. Am I not live now? Is that not happening? Oh no, there we go. There we go. TikTok is also now live. Fabulous. Okay. Okay, pause 1 second. Ah, that's what we want to kill. Okay, so I just want dashboard so we can see. Um, um, okay. And then we'll finish reading this all today because I want to focus on editing this so it's out on time. There we go. Don't mind me. Ah. That's... No, that's not what we're trying to see. Okay, whatever. Whatevs. Whoa. Whatevs. We're getting there. We're getting there. There we go. TikTok live monitor. That is what we want to see. And then I want to see the chat. If it will load. Which I would be very grateful for. There we go. Okay, and we should be golden. Okay. Which means ignore that up a bit. And we are good to go. Okay. We're gonna ignore all this lovely stuff. So we can just do that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay. Whew. Crowley raised an... Oh, sorry. Chapter 12. Raphael's Fury. Crowley raised an arm in front of his eyes to try and shield them. The gust was very strong. He had never seen Aziraphale like this before. He stepped forward, trying to get closer, but the gales kept him back. It seemed the circle around Aziraphale was the most intense, unable to be passed through. Raphael, you were not meant to harm other angels, you were meant to defend us. What are you doing? Crowley squinted his eyes to try and see through the mass of various objects being thrown about. Raphael? Was this some kind of new form? Or was this someone imitating Aziraphale? You do... Sorry. You do not deserve anyone's protection, let alone mine. You are a monster. He'd know that voice anywhere. That was definitely Aziraphale. But his voice seemed to boom and echo. Just what had gotten his angel so riled up? He turned to the other angel shielding under his wing. I'm going to fly up and see if there's a way to get through. Use your wings to shield yourself and stay away from them. Muriel nodded, sprinting a bit further back but still watching the scene. They lifted their wings, shielding themselves, but peeking through still to keep an eye on what was going on. He checked to see Muriel was safe before beginning to fly up. He really should thank them at some point. Buy them a whole crate of hot chocolates. Crowley flew up, desperately avoiding the flying desks as he attempted to get closer. It wasn't going to be easy. Aziraphale seemed to be determined to keep Metatron trapped there. I have been kind to you, said Bing replied. I offered you an escape to not be written out of the Book of Life, and this is how you repay me? Crowley was knocked back a bit as the storm suddenly got much more intense. Muriel seemed to still be standing, at least, but he was really starting to struggle to stay up now. Kind? What kindness? Aziraphale seemed to be glowing now, and lightning bolts struck around him. Surprisingly, however, tears began to fall from Aziraphale's original 2 eyes. Ah! Okay. You killed the demon I loved. You took away our chance of eternity. You deserve worse than hell. Crowley couldn't breathe for a moment. The demon I loved. Surely that couldn't be. Suddenly, he lost focus, and a desk went flying into him, gliding with his wings. He fell to the ground, and he gritted his teeth as he landed with an unceremonious thud. He lifted his wing and raised a hand to where the desk collided. It came back red. No, that should be... What? Okay, yeah, it came back red. We'll leave that for now. Blood. Well, it wasn't broken, at least. It was still usable. He stood, flexing it to get it working again. It hurt more than he liked to admit, but he didn't care. He had to get to Aziraphale. He flew up again, fighting against the gales. Aziraphale! Aziraphale, I'm okay. I survived the lift. Aziraphale! That wasn't working either. Aziraphale clearly couldn't hear him. He desperately wanted to try to fly around the perimeter, but there were no holes in the defense, as expected of Aziraphale. There was only one thing for it. He took a deep breath and braced himself. He began to fly through the barrier, his wings burning with exertion as he fought through it. Various objects began to hit him, but he had to keep going. A file hit him. Keep going. A chair hit him. Keep going. Another desk smashed against his wings. Keep going. He was nearly there. Finally, he made it to the inner circle where it was less turbulent. He tumbled downward, landing in a heap. Damn, it was almost as bad as the neck cramp he got the other day from sleeping in the Bentley. He juggled to himself as he fought to try and stand. He stood up, a little shakily, but firmly. Aziraphale! The angel in question turned, their expression immediately shifting from one of rage to a very gentle one. Aziraphale's glow... What am I reading? I'm reading Heaven's Eyes. It's my own fanfic that I'm turning into an audiobook. So I do this thing when I do audiobooks, is I just kind of read them out loud on stream, kind of like because I have like a making of series, and then I have it's out on AO3 now, but also I made it a few years ago, so this is like an edited version. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Thank you for the follow. It is appreciated. We've got like a really big artwork coming for it too. I spent £130 on a commission for it because it's just, I really like this. But oh, you follow me on YouTube, yeah. Oh dang. Yeah, it's yeah, this is for the Good Omens audiobook, which is coming very soon. Okay. Aziraphale's glow reduced, and his eyes changed from a crimson to their usual pretty shade. Not that the red was pleasant. Not that the red wasn't pleasant. In fact, Crowley found it rather endearing. The angel landed on the floor and kneeled beside Crowley, using his wings to shield the two from the Metatron. Crowley, But the lift, you... Crowley raised his hand to gently place his... Crowley raised his hand to gently place it on Aziraphale's cheek. I'm okay, Angel. The lift didn't fall very far. But you're hurt. How did... A look of horror then passed over his face. Don't tell me I... No, it's my fault. I chose to fly through it, didn't I? Well, I suppose so, but... Suppose so basically means yes. Don't be so fancy, he winked, before sitting up properly and moving his hand. Besides, your head archer... I can't speak today. Besides, your head archangel, Raphael, was it? What you say goes. The gusts began to slow, although Aziraphale was clearly ensuring that Metatron was contained within the circle. Aziraphale looked surprised again. Raphael? Oh, yes, I'm not quite sure what that's about. 5 eyes, then. Not bad, Crowley teased. 5? I have 5 eyes. Aziraphale miracled a mirror and was surprised at his appearance. Oh, I suppose I do. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Didn't think you were. You've caused quite a mess in heaven, Crowley smirked. I'm impressed. Aziraphale looked around and realized the chaos he was causing. He seemed to suddenly get an idea as he shifted round, an excitable look on his face. May I? Crowley looked confused. Sure. He wasn't quite sure what Aziraphale was asking, but it was hard to ever say no to his angel. He was still shocked to feel Aziraphale's hands on his wings, and even more shocked when his wings were suddenly fixed, as good as new. Aziraphale sat back, smiling. Not a bad job, Angel. You... He didn't get to finish his sentence as Aziraphale suddenly jumped onto him, hugging him. Oh, Crowley, please don't ever scare me like that again. I really don't know what I'd do without you. Crowley embraced the angel back, closing his eyes for a moment and taking in the moment. He was safe here, with his angel. No matter what, right in that exact moment, nothing would harm them. Yet suddenly, he pulled back from the hug, but his hands still clung onto the angel's arms. His glasses were lost in the gusts somewhere. He didn't care. Right, we're going to clear it up this time. No more dancing around it. We're being clear about it. I'll go first. Well... Oh, damn it. I love you, Angel. Like the silly humans do, like Maggie and Nina do. Aziraphale looked stunned for a moment, but this time it didn't seem panicked. More caught off guard. Well, Am I interrupting? Metatron sneered, walking around the side of them to see what was going on. Crowley raised his wings, creating a little bubble around them. He poked his head through. Yes, you are. Quite rude, actually. I'm not letting you get away with it this time. He then returned to inside the wings. Metatron seemed to stomp his foot and walk away again. That's kind of funny. And give you thank you. I enjoy doing it. He then returned to inside the wings. Sorry, no, we read that bit. Ignore me. Okay. Right, Angel, your turn. What do you... Aziraphale shifted to kneeling, leant forward, and kissed Crowley. He had to admit, it was foreign and new, but this time, it felt like love. He understood now why humans liked it so much. It was soft, it was warm, it was gentle. Aziraphale clearly was new to it as well, having an edge of shyness to the action. It made Crowley feel rather proud. This was likely Aziraphale's first kiss, and it was all his. Aziraphale pulled away, noticeably blushing. It was adorable. The angel didn't make eye contact, instead looking to the side. Whether you're a demon, an angel, a human, or some strange creature, I love you too, Crowley. Crowley's heart filled with love, the doubts of his previous confession being drowned out by the new. He couldn't help it. He burst out into fits of laughter. Aziraphale seemed confused and a little nervous. He smiled. Sorry, Angel. We really are a funny two, aren't we? Aziraphale smiled, then began to laugh as well. Crowley looked at Aziraphale, and Aziraphale looked at Crowley. 6,000 years. They really were silly, weren't they? Everything seemed so simple and funny now. Look, can you please stop this so we can get to the matter at hand? Metatron snapped. Oh, you're such a spoil sport, you old fart, Crowley snapped. Suddenly, Aziraphale got an idea. He placed a finger to his lips, and suddenly all the gusts and objects slowly settled back to where they were supposed to be. Aziraphale slowly shifted back into his regular self and stood up. I'm unsure what happened. Is everyone okay? Metatron narrowed his eyes at Aziraphale. What do you mean you are unsure what happened? You did it. Aziraphale feigned confusion. I did? Oh, that sounded funny. I did? Last thing I remember, I was near the lifts, and then I was on the floor. It was rather unceremonious of me, I do apologize. Metatron seemed only half convinced, scrutinizing Aziraphale, but then he sighed. It was difficult for angels to lie, after all, and for Aziraphale, he was always obvious when he did. But the angel seemed to have found newfound confidence. Right, okay. Everything does seem to be put into order once more. Oh, this really is a headache. Metatron placed a hand to his forehead. You are handling the paperwork. Go straight back to your office, Aziraphale. Muriel, just get this blasted demon out of here. Oh, this really isn't good for me. Crowley glanced over to Aziraphale. A small smile played on Aziraphale's lips as he walked away, holding the black feather out. Crowley grinned back. Aziraphale was going to find the Book of Life. Everyone else had left. Metatron was left standing there on his own. When it was clear, he began to grin, then laugh, laughing harder and harder until it was maniacal. So this was the true power of Raphael. My god, is it my favorite streamer, Striker? Oh my god. We're making an audiobook today. How you doing, big man? What is up, my guy? Fortnite Battle Pass. Okay. Then we open the TikTok chat again. Okay. You can't wait for the second part of Lover's Lake. Oh, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, it's coming out on Wednesday, 5 p.m. UK time, and I'm writing the final part today. I've done like about a third of it. We're getting there. It's yummy. I do really like this one. You're writing a script. Hey, nice. I wrote the script for a theory I'm doing, which is very memey, and then I did some of the next part of my rewrite series. We're getting there. Okay. Also, I'm talking on 2 different chats on YouTube and TikTok, so if I promise I'm not talking to no one. I'm bouncing between the 2 chats. Excited, maybe gonna get the membership. Oh, that's really sweet. I will say this is the end. After next week's episode and the one after, like this is my last rewrite series for a while because I'm moving on to more content. But for now, yeah, we have this, and we live, we laugh, we love. It'll be 3 parts, maybe 4, but I'm hoping to keep it to 3 and just have like the third one be really long. But we'll see. Chapter 13, Archives of Heaven. Aziraphale paced his office back and forth. It had been a week since the incident, and things in heaven had calmed down. Aziraphale had been made to make a public apology. The other angels weren't impressed, but had no choice but to accept it. Aziraphale did feel a little guilty that he had caused so much damage, but then he also didn't quite know how it happened. Surprisingly, he learned he still had the ability to summon various features he had before. It was like there was a box that had been locked and kept inside him, and all of a sudden it was open. He had mixed feelings about it. He was glad to have the powers to defend Crowley, of course, but then he didn't like that he wasn't fully in control of them. It was as if they had listened to his heart and carried out his wishes without his mind playing a part in it. That was fine in that the angels were free from injury, but not fine in that he had hurt Crowley so badly, and that he had nearly destroyed Metatron. It's not that he didn't harbour any ill will towards Metatron. No, quite the opposite. But that if he truly harmed Metatron, God would then notice. Can you guys hear that in the background? Let me check. Might just pause for a minute. No, quite the opposite. But that if he truly harmed Metatron, God would then notice. Can you guys hear that in the background? Just give it 1 minute. Fine. It's fine. Wait 1 minute. Someone's just Hebrew? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. He was worried Crowley would get punished for it. Crowley couldn't fall again, but this was God. They could end his precious demon's life instantly. Funnily enough, the idea of falling hadn't been as scary to Aziraphale as of late. Heaven was really something, and that something was becoming more and more awful in his mind. Each time he closed a problem, a new one formed, and he found heaven to become more and more intolerable. The idea of falling, being away from all of this, not having to worry, and just being able to be with Crowley. He sighed. No, this wouldn't do. Crowley would scold him if he heard all of this. He opened his drawer, looked around, and took out a letter, sitting down for a moment. Now that he and Crowley had finally confessed their feelings for one another, he had found the distance harder and harder. Muriel was happy to oblige in helping deliver the letters between the two. Ever since that day, Muriel had somehow become even closer with the two. He had learned from his letters as well that Crowley was becoming rather fond of Muriel, even though he wouldn't admit it. For example, Crowley was writing small reports in each letter about the condition of the bookshop, and each section was full of grudging compliments for how Muriel was treating the shop. He also insisted that Crowley tell him about how the day had been, and this was littered with plenty of small details. For example, Crowley had stated he had found a new brand of hot chocolate for Aziraphale to try when he returned to the bookshop, but also had complained about the specific way Muriel liked their hot chocolate prepared. This wouldn't be that important, except that Muriel would drink it without anything if needs be. But Crowley would insist, with false grumpiness, on putting cream and marshmallows onto it, with I'm not speaking today. Woo! With a little dash of chocolate powder on top. Aziraphale found this quite sweet, as this is the way Crowley had made her chocolate for him in the past as well. It was adorable. These reports are what helped keep Aziraphale sane. Ideas of what they'd do when he came back, because he definitely would come back. Oh, sorry, my voice broke. because he definitely would come back. No. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's really loud on my end. No. No. We'll get there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Pause, pause, pause. 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 Look. These reports are what helped keep Aziraphale sane. Ideas of what they'd do when he came back, because he definitely would come back. What they'd drink at the Ritz. What blankets they'd sit under in the bookshop. What West End shows Crowley thought Aziraphale would like, and vice versa. How could he could be home soon. It was just a matter of time. Which led to his current predicament. He had been searching restlessly to find the location of the Book of Life whilst tackling the papers from his incident, but had found absolutely nothing. In a last-ditch attempt, he decided to pace to see if it would clear his head a little. Considering that he was back sitting at his desk, perusing the letter again, he hadn't made much progress. My dearest angel Aziraphale. Crowley seemed to address every letter this way. Aziraphale found it rather sweet, and a little out of character for Crowley. Crowley was likely doing it to bring a smile to his face, and that made it even more special. The bookshop is still too boring without you here. I know I say it every time, but it's true. Muriel is nice company, but it's not you, Angel. I don't know how to describe it. It's not that it's too quiet. Muriel feels the quiet hours going on about their books, but it's like a cake with no icing. Sweet, but too bland. Does that make sense? God, I sound so stupid. That part made him giggle every time. It was so sweet, far from what you'd expect from a demon. Not that it mattered anyway. I'm sorry you're there all alone. If I were there, I'd sit beside you until you got so annoyed with me you'd bat me away. You say you're too pure for that, but nah. I can be rather annoying, but it's your fault now that you have to deal with that. And glad he was that he got to. Muriel hasn't said anything, but they've gone all fidgety, so I can tell they want to bring this to you already. They had a meeting due today, they said, although I suspect they want to go early to spend some time with you. I don't blame them. I'll say goodbye to you now then. See you soon, Angel. Love you. Your especially annoying demon, Crowley. Aziraphale smiled and held the letter to his chest. Yes, things would be okay. He was loved. He was so loved, in fact, that he learnt Crowley took a class in the 19th century specifically to be able to write like this. Crowley had bragged about it in his first letter to Aziraphale. Aziraphale adored learning small details like these. Somehow it made him love Crowley even more. He sighed, gently placing the letter back in the drawer. He opened up the folder again, looking through each and every individual page and checking the fine print. He had found plenty of details on what the Book of Life was and the details of its history, but nothing on its location. This was one of the highest ranks of books. Why was there nothing here? He took off his glasses for a moment and rubbed his eyes. A knock suddenly resounded from the door. Aziraphale quickly hid the folder in his drawer before straightening up. Come in. He knew by the quick entry and excitable footsteps that this was Muriel. He took the file back out again, resting it on his desk. Hello, Muriel. How are you? I'm very good, thank you, Muriel replied cheerily. I just came to check on you. Oh, and to give you this. They extended a singular flower towards Aziraphale. Aziraphale took it. It was gorgeous, a fresh lavender with dewdrops upon it. It's from Crowley, they continued. He said there's something about flower language? I don't speak it, but he said you probably do. Indeed I do, Aziraphale smiled softly. Lavender, the flower of devotion. Oh, Crowley, you really are a sap, he thought fondly. Oh, what are you looking at? Muriel looked at the file. Can I help you? Aziraphale debated it for a moment. He was trying to keep minimal people involved for safety, but, well, Muriel had avoided trouble so far. And of course, he trusted them completely. Okay, but you must remember not to talk to anyone about this. This is top secret and does not leave this office. I need to find the location of this book. Muriel nodded dutifully before sitting on the chair and looking at the file. Their reading speed for files was incredibly impressive. For their fiction books, they read a lot slower in order to take it all in and enjoy it. But for files like these, they could absorb the key information and read through it. They looked puzzled for a moment. The Book of Life? Why do you want to find this? You'll get into a lot of trouble. Aziraphale nodded. Yes, indeed. But I plan to leave heaven after this. Get away from it all. Not have to worry anymore. You'd be more than welcome to come too, you know. Me? Really? Muriel looked very excited for a moment. Well, I do quite like it here. I'd have to think about it. They looked lost in thought before returning to the book and taking out some strange device from their pocket. It looked like an extremely thick magnifying glass. Aziraphale had never seen anything like it. I think it says it here. But hang on, there's a code. I just need to get the right lenses. It took them a few moments of switching the lens order around, but finally the lens was on the correct setting. There, I got it, they declared proudly. A few beats of silence passed as Muriel looked at Aziraphale proudly. Very well done, but where is it? Oh! Muriel looked surprised for a moment before continuing. Sorry about that. Well, it says that to access this folder, you have to be high rank. And to solve this, you have to be intelligent. Me, intelligent. Aziraphale waited patiently for them to continue. No, so that's more like, me, intelligent. Aziraphale waited patiently for them to continue. The Book of Life is contained in... Yet suddenly, their face fell. Metatron's office. And we slam on to chapter 14. Chapter 14. Standing Up. Aziraphale was, once more, pacing. Of all the places the book could have been locked in, Metatron's office? Well, he supposed it made sense. Metatron was the closest to God, and the higher-ranking angels were very rarely actually in heaven. Metatron was the only logical option. So how would he cause a distraction? Metatron only left his office to nag Aziraphale about something, or for plans surrounding the Second Coming, and both of those plans had faults. Why don't you invite him to your office for some hot chocolate? Even Metatron couldn't turn that down, Muriel suggested, their hands wrapped around their own warm mug. You'd be surprised, replied Aziraphale glumly. I'm not sure exactly where in the office it is either. All I know is that Crowley's feather is the only thing that'll allow me access. Why is his feather the key? Muriel asked curiously. He wasn't always a demon, Aziraphale replied. In fact, he was a rather high-ranking angel. Muriel paused, confused. But if he was so high-ranking, surely he had everything. Why did he fall? That second part I can't answer. That is something only he has the right to talk about. He sighed forlornly. As for the former, heaven isn't the way humans depict it, nor how their Bible depicts it. Heaven would have you believe that angels are intensely kind, and that the higher rank you are, the more power you have. But really, do we have any power if we're just doing what we're told? Quite frankly, I don't believe I have any more power than you do. Muriel looked at their hot chocolate for a moment, before placing it down. Ah, maybe he had gone too far. After all, Muriel still had some faith in heaven, and had no plans to leave. But maybe they should. And that's why you want the Book of Life, to have more power. Muriel looked up, earnest, watching Aziraphale so intently. Ah. They were beginning to question things. No, I want to destroy it, he replied firmly. I want to remove that power from Metatron. But then no one has power, And surely that's worse. Why not have one person with the power, or some really nice people can share it? Then heaven remains a dictatorship. The only way to deal with a situation like this is to destroy it at its source. Only then can we pray that something changes. At the very least, you, Crowley, and I can all live without fear of complete destruction. But the second coming, Muriel spoke in an upset tone. If that happens, I'll get destroyed anyway, and all my co-workers too, no matter if the Book of Life is there or not. It's okay, Aziraphale soothed, finally coming over and placing a hand on their shoulder. Whether I'm up here or residing on Earth, I will stop the second coming. But first, I have to get rid of this book. Muriel nodded. All right, I'll help you, they grinned cheerily. We don't want a dictatorship after all. Oh, Muriel, I can't let you do that, he stepped back. If I fail, I'll be written out of the Book of Life completely. I can't let that happen to you as well. It won't happen, they replied earnestly. You're Aziraphale, the head archangel. I'm sure you can do it. Muriel, you don't understand. If you are written out of the Book of Life, you won't just be gone. It'll be like you never existed. Heaven already treats me that way. There was a serious look on their face, but a sense of softness. He could tell they were being genuine. You and Crowley are the only ones that treat me with genuine kindness. If you two aren't here, it'll be just like I never existed anyway. I won't have made a difference. Muriel. Muriel's eyes widened at Aziraphale's sudden change in tone of voice. Just by being here, you have made a difference. Your worth isn't based on how supposedly valuable you are to others. It is dictated by how you view yourself. I have been given the role of head archangel, which by default would make me incredibly important. But you have never referred to me as such, and I have never wanted to you. Because my worth is not from being a head archangel, but by simply being Aziraphale. Muriel didn't speak for a moment. They seemed stunned. Since becoming head archangel, Aziraphale had seen far too many angels with this mindset, himself a victim in the past. That was what heaven did. That's what angels were made to be. But he refused. Then, if I judge my own worth by myself... Muriel suddenly looked up, a look of determination in their eyes. Then I want to help you. I want to be an angel that I can be proud of, and that you and Crowley will be proud of. Not just the angel who reads for others every few 100 years. I want to do something important. I want to help you. It was Aziraphale's turn to be surprised. After all this, Muriel was still adamant to help? But no, this was different. This was Muriel's own independent will, not to help others or to do what they were told. They wanted to help. Oh, Muriel, he replied fondly. I already am. Crowley parked the Bentley outside an old abandoned shop. Legend has it that it used to be an old antique shop. Nah, it was, in fact, a secret entrance to hell. The front was graffitied with various names and drawings. He swaggered up to the chipped and poorly tainted door and knocked a certain pattern. Knock 4 times, pause, knock once, pause, knock once, then thump, then knock twice more. Repeat that last step. The door slowly creaked open and stepped inside. It smelt awful. Had no one taken care of this entrance at all? Well, good for him, he supposed. He moved to the till, punching in 3 numbers, 666, and took out a token from the counter. He closed the till and flipped it in the air, and he was back in hell. His first thought was that he really did not miss this place. His skin immediately felt uncomfortable at the unpleasant heat. That awful hum met his ears, and he huffed. He didn't have to be here long. In and out. He quickly miracled his appearance to become a long black trench coat and swooping hat, far more unobvious. He took a deep breath and left the closet he had appeared inside. He felt even more uncomfortable as he realized how densely packed the area was. Hell was busy, apparently. He placed his hands in his pockets and shoved his way through the masses as he orientated himself. Thankfully, he wasn't far from the pit. the lowest place in hell and where hellfire was festering. He travelled along the corridor, not far now. A few doors he could... Hey, you! Haster? He quickly straightened up, letting out a grunt of recognition. Hopefully, he hadn't been recognized yet. What are you doing wandering around? You seem like a lower-ranked demon. No personality to your outfit. State your purpose. Crowley cleared his throat, forcing his voice to stay very low. I've been sent by Shax. Top secret and all that. Shax? She does often shift her paperwork to others. Haster narrowed his eyes. But not to someone like you, Crowley smiled and snapped his fingers. Suddenly, Haster was frozen and could not move. Ah, well, subtlety could do one. He strolled forward, waving at Haster as he cheerily walked on. There was the Hellfire Vault, guarded by two beefy-looking demons. They were easy enough to deal with. Right idiots most of the guards were. I need access to the vault. Important business. Shax's orders. Shax? One replied. Why does she need it? She's the Grand Duke of Hell and you're questioning her? He asked, raising his eyebrows. Well, not my head on the line. Grand Duke? You must be joking, the other guard chuckled. She's a duke, yes, but she'd never deserve that role. Still being decided, innit? Shax wasn't Grand Duke of Hell? Well, he supposed Beelzebub did tease the role, but they didn't exactly give it. He wondered who would actually get the role. Ah, well, you see, top secret. Crowley lowered his voice. The lower ranks haven't been told yet, but she's already been elected. It's just being kept under wraps and all that. Just while reasonable adjustments are made. The guards narrowed their eyes. You expect us to believe that? Well, I can tell Shax that you're not following her orders. He rolled his eyes. It's not me that's getting discorporated after all. The guard seemed hesitant for a moment, caught in a moment of decision, before turning and twisting the wheel to open the doors. Crowley stepped in and was immediately hit by intense heat. Not enough to burn him, since he was, still a demon, but still unpleasant. He took out a special glass bottle from his pocket and collected hellfire as he stood on the edge of the platform. It was full. He quickly closed it, placing it securely in his pocket, miracling it to have a zip and closing it up. Welcome to eternal punishment, arsehole. Crowley was surprised as he was shoved down into the hellfire. Suddenly he was falling, and at a rapid speed. But he laughed. Demons were never the brightest. He took out the coin, flipping it as he yelled the first place to come to his mind. Berkeley Square. In a mere moment, he was standing in the beloved park. He smirked to himself, sitting on the bench. Nice and easy. He took out the hellfire and took out a different type of coin. He was about to send it up when he noticed a nice look... that was... bleh. He was about to send it up when he noticed a nice-looking flower bed near where he was sitting. He picked one of the flowers and tied it round the lid. God, he was getting stupidly sappy. He placed the coin on top of the bottle and tapped it twice. It suddenly disappeared, destined to appear in Aziraphale's office. He relaxed against the bench for a moment, laying his arms back against the chair as he lounged. He really did love the Nightingale's song, he thought, as the gentle tune reached his ears. It's all up to you now, Angel. That was really fun. I really loved doing the voices for the guards. I really enjoyed that. Okay. Chapter 15. Break-in. Heaven was in a spot of bother. Flames were spreading throughout heaven. Papers were all over the floor, and fire flickered upon them, and across abandoned desks. Muriel looked panicked, desperately looking for a fire extinguisher. Well, pretending to, at least. They hoped they were doing a realistic-looking job. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't get too close, you'll be discorporated. Michael turned to them, sneering. How on earth did you start a fire in heaven? No mortal possessions come up here. Or, I suppose, used to come up here. I'm sorry, I had a candle with me. I forgot I had it in the bookshop. You know, candles lighting up by themselves and all. Lighting up by themselves? Uriel asked, narrowing his eyes. Yes, Aziraphale's candles. Candles he left in my possession, for me to use, Muriel replied, trying to convey a message. If anyone understood the want for revolution, it was Uriel. Right, yes, I've had a few of those, they sighed. We need some fire extinguishers. How long will they take you to get? How long will they take you to get? Huh? Huh? Was this a code? Just like Jane Austen when she was writing books. Oh, I think it's too much of fire extinguishers. Aziraphale has gone to get some extra help from a higher up. Not that he's not high up, but, yeah. Uriel looked surprised for a moment. They supposed the Archangel wasn't expecting someone hired to get involved. It was risky. Yet still, Uriel didn't back out. He simply nodded. They turned to the other angels. Right, everyone stand back. We're not going to be able to miracle this away without a higher authority. Everyone began to back away, with lots of complaints and grumbles passed around. Uriel turned to Muriel, who was grinning happily at him. Uriel gave a half smile back. No, that's wrong. He was grinning happily at them. Uriel gave a small half smile back. Aziraphale took a few deep breaths as he looked at Metatron's door. His hand was raised, but the gravity of the situation suddenly crashed down onto him. He couldn't help the slight tremble in his fist as he inched it closer to the door. For Crowley. He knocked firmly on the door. It took a few moments before the painfully familiar face of the Metatron appeared. He seemed thoroughly displeased. And to what, Aziraphale, do I owe this pleasure? Well, it's hardly a pleasurable occasion, he huffed. Half of heaven is on fire. None of us are strong enough to miracle it away, either. It's too powerful. Metatron sighed. All right, I'm coming. Never got any peace in here. He left his office, but he still had his hand on the door as he turned to Aziraphale. Aren't you coming? He asked, suspiciously. As much as I'd love to, I'm still thoroughly okay. As much as I'd love to, I'm still thoroughly behind on the paperwork you assigned me. He feigned exhaustion as he placed a hand to his forehead. It really is such a hassle, but I suppose that's to be expected when you go AWOL. I still don't remember what happened, but a job is a job, I suppose. Quite. Metatron scrutinized him for a few moments before finally deciding everything was okay. He left, and Aziraphale walked in the opposite direction, hiding around the corner as he miracled Metatron's door to stay just a little bit open. As soon as Metatron had marched around the corner, he ran back to the office, opening the door, looking around as he stepped in. He was surprised to see that Metatron's room was so full of stuff. There was a desk, but also other various possessions, and earthly ones at that. A globe sat upon his desk, and papers were strewn about messily. More interesting, however, was a mannequin in the corner of the room wearing a crown and a cape. Was this Metatron's own? The more he looked around the room, the more he realized it was rather human-like. But heaven shamed mortal objects. Why was Metatron storing so many? Was he seriously enjoying their pleasures but not wanting anyone else to share it? Strange. Right, to the mission at hand. He began to look around the room. There were no obvious safes or cupboards around. It would be hidden somewhere much more subtle. Conveniently, Metatron had left his key on the desk. Clearly, he had rushed out to go sort out the fire. Aziraphale quickly took it, finding several documents. He ignored them. He just needed a complete guide to the Second Coming. No access to lower rank angels. Wait, if he burnt that, could he delay the Second Coming even further? He quickly took the document and carefully closed the drawer, locking it once more, miracling the folder to be smaller and fit into his pocket. Right, it clearly wasn't here. He then began to walk along the walls, feeling them for some kind of secret entrance. He began to panic as he couldn't find it there either. He was running out of ideas. This was his only chance. If he didn't get it now, who knows what could happen? Come on, you stupid angel, think. He huffed, turning on the spot, trying to figure out what to do, when he saw the globe again. He stepped closer to it, stroking the surface. The globe. Was there something about the globe? He studied the globe for a moment, before pointing towards a specific spot in London, the Globe Theatre. A small indent appeared, and he turned to see a door's silhouette. A shape fit for a feather appeared on where his finger had pressed. He took out Crowley's feather, placing it on the globe, and a secret entrance had appeared. He quickly stepped towards it, pocketing the feather again. A staircase appeared in front of him. He quickly hurried down them, and there, in the center of the room, was the Book of Life. He couldn't believe it. He hesitantly moved towards it, adrenaline rushing through his physical form. He stepped closer and carefully picked it up. Suddenly, a loud rumble emitted, and he turned to see the door slamming behind him. Okay, stay calm. He placed the book down on the pedestal, and the door opened again, so he couldn't leave with it. He took the bottle of hellfire out from his pocket, holding it incredibly carefully, before suddenly tipping it and pouring it onto the book. Horrible screams began to emit from it. Souls who had been trapped inside. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to free you, bring you peace. That sounded off. I can do better than that. I can do better. Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to free you, bring you peace. That just sounded the same. Oh well. The screams continued, and the book did not disappear. Aziraphale began to panic again. Now he couldn't touch the book or destroy it. Oh, why was everything so difficult? He stomped his foot, and the feather from his pocket slowly floated into the air. What if he... He carefully held the feather, holding it above the scalding hellfire. And dropped it. The feather was instantly consumed by the flames, and they turned black. The book seemed to be a little scorched now. It was just missing something. Slowly, he took out Raphael's wings and plucked one of the feathers. He held it above the flames and dropped it in. No change. Ah well, he should have expected as much. He was only a lowly angel. He couldn't... No. He couldn't. Raphael couldn't, rather. But he was Aziraphale, not Raphael. And Aziraphale and Crowley sounded so much better. He changed his wings to that of his own and took one of those feathers, dropping it into the flames. Now, white began to mix into it, creating a gorgeous, swirly pattern of white and black. The book was finally burning. Quickly, Aziraphale miracled the Second Coming file to full size from his pocket and threw it into the flames. The screaming quelled, and out of the fire came white and black spirits, glowing beautifully, an aura of peace surrounding them. Aziraphale suddenly found himself overwhelmed by a sense of love and the urge to cry. Lifetimes appeared in front of him, memories, some happy, some sad, but all absolutely beautiful. Stories written out of this lifetime, feelings, emotions, bonds, life, death, all encased in the book, finally free. Life truly was beautiful. And finally, the book was gone. Souls were at peace. He and Crowley were free. He couldn't help the tears suddenly cascading down his face, and somehow he laughed at the same time. He quickly rushed to the door, happy to finally be out and feeling suddenly free. Each step he was reminded of all his happy memories with Crowley, all the pain and suffering the two had gone through, and then all the new ones he'd make. Oh, he was going to smother Crowley with affection, tell Crowley how special he is, gorgeous he is, and how oh so precious his demon was. He was practically bouncing up the steps. They would have the best dinner at the Ritz. They could celebrate. They could... Going somewhere? Metatron. And that is the end of that chapter. We're on 16, which means we have like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 5 more plus the epilogue, so we'll finish today. Okay. Let me go up to TikTok chat again. Chapter 16. Captured. Aziraphale followed Metatron without a word. He knew he'd been caught, that it was too late. Nothing he said would help him now. At least the Book of Life was out of the question. No matter how he was punished, it would be worth it. Still, he wished he could travel to his bookshop, but his hands were cuffed with miracle-blocking pure light. You know, all you had to do was what you were told, Metatron scolded. Aziraphale was... Oh, no, never mind. You know, all you had to do was do what you were told, Metatron scolded. Aziraphale was surprised by the lack of ferocity to it. Just go along with everything, not complain. Everything would have worked out perfectly for you, nice and easy. Why must you be so disobedient? Only God knows how we'll clean this up. Aziraphale chose to remain silent. Look, if you want to remain in heaven, you better come up with a damn good excuse. Stay in heaven? He scoffed in reply. I would never wish to stay in a place like this. Do you not understand the seriousness of the situation? Scolded Metatron. I am just as menacing without the Book of Life. A weapon is only as strong as its wielder, you know. Right, he replied. So what will it be? Torture? You're going to destroy my desk? Curse my name? Because I assure you, if by trial you are found guilty, Metatron interrupted, then you will be classed a fallen angel by decree and shall be punished as such. Falling? Aziraphale was going to fall? He'd thought about it before, but he denied himself the thoughts as soon as they arrived. Now they were real and very close. And well, though he was, of course, a little nervous, he also found some strange sense of relief. That he'd be free for good from heaven. He'd be truly free. God, Crowley would scold him if he heard these thoughts. Then again, Crowley would be practically foaming at the mouth if he found out how heaven was planning to treat his angel. Aziraphale sighed. No matter how hard he tried, somehow he always ended up hurting Crowley in some way, shape, or form. This would be the last time. He was sure of it. He'd find their peace. Aziraphale was brought into a coliseum. Angels were already gathering inside it. This was fast. How had Metatron even managed this? He could even see 2 very high-ranking angels, principalities, near the front, their eyes cold and calculating. He supposed they had to be if they survived a role like that for so long. Metatron stood beside Aziraphale, his arms in front of him in a tidy fashion. Dear angels, I appreciate you gathering here with such haste. I shall be sure to put in a special word with God. He then gestured to Aziraphale. As you can see, we have had a slight incident. The Book of Life has been destroyed. Suddenly, the angels erupted in chatter. One of the principalities tried to stand up in outrage, but the other placed a hand on their arm. Both returned to a formal position, but the one who attempted to stand seemed to still be on edge. As terrible as this is, Metatron continued, miracling his voice to sound a lot louder, we must still give head Archangel Aziraphale a fair trial. He is, after all, one of our higher ranks, and has clearly made a difference here in heaven during his time here. Therefore, to start, stop! Everyone suddenly turned to see a small angel standing in the doorway as the doors flew open to reveal Muriel? Muriel, what are you doing? This is a trial! Aziraphale felt thoroughly on edge. Something was wrong, very wrong. Why had Muriel suddenly burst in here? There was no reason to risk their life like this. Even this was likely a crime. You're holding a trial for the wrong person. Muriel's eyes met Aziraphale's, and they hardened. The destruction of Metatron's book? It was all orchestrated by me. That's right, I did it. Right. You, a minuscule angel, planned this? Forgive me for... Metatron began. Yes, I did it, and this is exactly why. You people all disrespect me all the time and all my other angel friends. Muriel's tone was firm to everyone save for Aziraphale, who knew them well enough to know that they were nervous. So I started a fire to distract you all and manipulated Aziraphale by poisoning his hot chocolate. Yes, ask anyone. It clearly came from my desk. Metatron's eyes narrowed, clearly deep in thought. No, this couldn't go ahead. He couldn't let Muriel take the fall for this. No, it's all of my own accord. I had full agency. Well, I believe it makes sense. Well, I believe it makes sense. Metatron frowned. No, what do you... Play along. This stupid angel may have gotten you out of this, Metatron murmured under his breath. Aziraphale was stunned. My fellow angels, I do believe this silly angel is telling the truth. As you well know, low-ranking angels are to stay on Earth during the Second Coming. Unsurprisingly, I found this document destroyed as well. Yells of complaint began to erupt again. Whilst I know this is not ideal, I'm sure we can sort it. Regardless, I do believe it is fairly certain that, Muriel here is the real culprit. Wait a minute. A voice cut through the various sounds of displeasure through the room. Uriel. Sorry, no. A voice cut through the various sounds of displeasure throughout the room. Uriel. There's no evidence for this. They deserve a fair trial, surely. Regardless of intelligence, they're still a fellow angel. Aziraphale smiled fondly at Uriel. Uriel's gaze, however, was fixed on Metatron. Ah, Uriel. Uriel raised his eyebrow as Metatron addressed him. You have been here for long enough. You know how the hierarchy works. You don't have time for empathy towards a rebellious angel. Surely you understand that. But they're not guilty, Aziraphale cried. I haven't drunken anything recently, let alone one served by Muriel. I haven't been poisoned. Metatron nodded his head towards Muriel, and they were quickly cuffed. Their calm composure suddenly broke, and Aziraphale could see the fear in Muriel's eyes. Leave them alone! What are you? He raged. Your Raphael form is locked behind those cuffs, so don't even try it, Metatron drawled as Muriel was dragged away. Don't worry, we'll get you a nice comfortable bed while the poison washes out of your system. Only then can we prove your innocence. Two angels grabbed Aziraphale by each arm, and he struggled desperately, thrashing against them. No, leave them alone, it's not their fault! His cries were left unheard as he was dragged away, and the council of angels began to dissipate, gossip hiding the truth in their minds. I'm gonna grab a quick snack, 2 seconds, before we do the next one. I got myself a mini roll. I like mini rolls. Yummy. Oh, my mini roll broke everywhere. What the heck? That's really rude of it. How dare it? I just broke the main rule of voice acting. You're not meant to eat chocolate before you film anything. Oopsie. We live, we laugh, we love. Mmm. Good shit. Um. Num num num. Hi, Deadshot. How you doing? Just having a cheese snack before we start filming again. And hydration. I can talk during filming, by the way. So, yeah, if you guys want to say, you can. Ho, ho, ho. Yes. Ho, ho, ho. Chapter 17. Breakout. Aziraphale sat alone in his cell, silent. He had tried yelling and cursing at the guards, but all he had achieved was the appearance of a madman. He was beginning to get a headache from the bright light within the cell. He had hoped, at least in here, he'd have some peace from heaven's constant luminescence, but no. He was currently seated on a bed seemingly made from clouds. It wasn't as comfortable as you'd think. Same as everything in heaven. The holiness was a lie. He could have no doubts now. He was so focused on his thoughts that he didn't hear the clipping of shoes down the corridor. The shadow fell upon his face, and he looked up to see a face he had grown to hate thoroughly. Oh, thoroughly. I need to hydrate. My words aren't wording. There we go. Okay, there we go. Metatron. What do you want? He asked, in a low voice. Aziraphale, you treat me with such contempt. Am I not the one who has freed you from damnation? Metatron asked, with sickly kindness. If it weren't for me, I'm not convinced you'd have already fallen. You should be grateful to Muriel. Muriel! Aziraphale suddenly stood up. Are they okay? Are they safe? Have they fallen? They're in their cell, reflecting on what they've done, Metatron drawled. Come the break of dawn, they will fall. Such is the punishment for their crime. But they didn't do it, he cried. And you are smart enough to know they aren't capable of this. Of course I know, Metatron replied smugly. But the rest of heaven will listen to whatever I say. They have to. Therefore, if I say they did it, then they did it. You maintain your innocence, Aziraphale. Your head archangel. You could have this too. You've made a mistake, but this is fixable. Aziraphale grit his teeth, but then he feigned defeat, dropping his shoulders. If he wanted any chance of getting Muriel out of this safely, he needed his freedom back, even if only temporarily. All right, fine. What do you need from me? How do we cover this up? We'll deal with it once Muriel has fallen. Metatron narrowed his eyes. Forgive me for not trusting you, but you did just burn the Book of Life. Quite frankly, I don't understand how you did it, but it's done now. I doubt God will give me another, else that Muriel would have been written out of it already. Only now it dawned on Aziraphale just how bad things could have been if he had failed. Would Muriel still have put themselves forward like this? Would Crowley be involved as well? Yes, things could be worse. He could still work with this. Well, could you at least undo these shackles? The cell is already blocked from any miracles. They are thoroughly uncomfortable. Please? Fine, Metatron sighed. I don't owe you any favors. In fact, you owe me many. However, heaven still respects its archangels. They won't be impressed if they found out you were left like this. Metatron swiped his hand, and suddenly Aziraphale's wrists were free. He rubbed them, glad for the sensation to be gone. It wasn't exactly painful, but it was rather uncomfortable, like being a little too close to a campfire but not touching it. He was glad to be free of them. Try anything, Metatron sneered, and not even I can excuse you. Metatron left, and Aziraphale watched him go, a blank expression on his face. The moment Metatron turned the corner, Aziraphale searched himself for something thin and pointy. Ah! But he was a fool! Quickly, his wings sprung out, and he plucked one feather out. You see, when he was trained to be a magician, one thing he was taught was how to escape any lock. And lucky for him, Heaven was just about lazy enough, and not used to prisoners, that they still had a fairly rudimentary lock. He squeezed his arm through the bar and began wiggling the feather into the mechanism. Let's hope this time goes more successfully than his water tank trick. Crowley had banned Aziraphale of performing anything of the sort after that. Finally, he heard a click. The moment he stepped out of the cell, he felt his familiar angelic powers returning to him. Right, he had to rescue Muriel. No, he had to get them out of trouble completely. If the punishment was falling, then he bravely accepted. Still, he should at least tell Crowley what was going on. Perhaps he'd conveniently leave the whole falling part out of it. Crowley would be worried sick by this point, he assumed. He owed Crowley a bit of peace at least, show Crowley that he was okay. Quickly, he snapped his fingers and his form slowly changed from being on heaven to being on earth. In the bookshop. Crowley, But then he cut himself off as he noticed Crowley, passed out asleep on the chair, a bottle of alcohol clutched to his chest. Ah. He was clearly stressed from all this. Aziraphale didn't blame him. Crowley had been treating him so kindly the last few days. Perhaps he should have been doing more, showing his appreciation more. He stepped a bit closer, careful not to knock anything. There were papers scattered across the floor. He reached down and picked one up. It was the letters they had shared via Muriel. Crowley really held them so dear. Goodness, he really didn't deserve Crowley. Crowley, who loved him so deeply and sincerely, who was gentle and kind, bragged about how cruel he was when deep down, Crowley was the kindest soul Aziraphale had ever come across. He stepped closer and gently brushed some of Crowley's hair back that was resting upon the demon's forehead. Oh, how he loved this demon. He leant down, leaving a soft and quick kiss on the top of Crowley's head. He would allow himself a moment of peace. Before it happened. I am sorry, dear. He looked around for paper and pen and found a stack resting on the table beside Crowley. He smiled softly as he realized that there were many failed attempts at letters. He hadn't even considered how much thought had gone into those wonderful letters. Well, Crowley always had struggled with showing affection this way, but perhaps letters were giving them the outlet he needed. How sweet. He found a plain piece of paper and quickly scrawled a note upon it. Book of Life destroyed. Just have some things to sort out in heaven. Won't be long. Lots of love, Aziraphale. P.S. Each letter of yours is perfect. He sighed, walking towards the bookshop door and turning to Crowley once more. This was the last time they'd see each other whilst technically on opposite sides. After this, they'd be on the same side. There wouldn't be any need for the stress of our side, for they'd be on the same one either way. Both safe, both happy, both at peace. Oh, what hard work peace was. He sighed, exiting the bookshop and appearing back in heaven once more. Aziraphale appeared in heaven once more, racing to the cells. He had to dodge to the side as swarms of angels were already searching. He needed to be quick. He dodged behind pillars, letting the angels desperately run past. He was about to enter the cells when suddenly Uriel stopped in front of him, blocking his entrance. Uriel that sounds Uriel! Oh my god, it's Uriel now! Uriel, Aziraphale spoke in a low tone. I am begging you. I will hand myself over, but I cannot let an innocent angel suffer for my crimes. Save it, Uriel replied firmly. I'm not going to catch you. Look, ever since you've been here, heaven has been a better place. Heaven has been changing. Suppose I have respect for you, in a way. Even more so that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for a low-ranking angel. If you respect me in any way, shape, or form, he pleaded, then you would let me go and save them. Uriel narrowed his eyes for a moment, scrutinizing. before stepping to the side, out of the way. Aziraphale smiled, nodding to them before sprinting through. He checked the cells. All empty, empty, empty. The sound of quiet sobbing sent a chill down his spine. Muriel. He somehow sprinted even faster, desperate to save them. He arrived at the cell and was horrified by the sight. There was Muriel, but not in a good state. Their wings were out, but there were a few patches splattered with blood, feathers noticeably missing. Muriel! Oh, what have they done to you? Muriel turned to Aziraphale, tears flooding from their eyes as they ran over to him, proceeding to hug him. He hugged them back, stroking their back gently. Oh dear, it's okay now. They can't hurt you whilst I'm here. They sobbed. I just wanted to help, to make a difference, to stop that dictatorship you talked about, but heaven is so mean. I know, it really is a cruel place. But you don't have to stay here any longer, he soothed. I'm going to open this gate and get you out of here. No, they suddenly cried, stepping back. Then they'll catch you, and they won't stop hunting me down, and... Muriel, dear, Aziraphale looked them directly into their eyes. I am only going to tell you this once, and you do not tell Crowley. There is a solution to this. I am going to take full blame for my actions, and I'm going to fall. But after that, we'll have peace, safety. It's going to be okay. But falling hurts. Crowley told me it really, really hurts. You'll burn. Their sobs had been replaced with a voice full of fear. And you won't be an angel anymore. You'll be different, and you'll be in hell. Don't you worry, he smirked. Hell will leave me alone. They are well aware they cannot destroy me, and they also hate the Book of Life. I'll be commended. Muriel shook their head. No, you can't. Aziraphale looked at them with soft eyes. Now you listen carefully. You aren't going to fall here. I will not let you suffer for my crimes, for that would make me just as bad as the angels here. You are an absolutely wonderful soul, and you have many more wonderful things to do. I will not let you throw that away. Heaven doesn't deserve your kind soul, and it certainly doesn't deserve to desecrate you as such. So you listen to me now. He looked eye contact with them. You are going to get out of here safely, and you are going to live a happy existence. You hear me? They nodded, and Aziraphale miracled the cell open. Muriel stepped out, tears still in their eyes. They quickly embraced Aziraphale in a hug once more. Thank you. No, thank you, dear, for giving me faith in angels once more. No, it's higher. He's higher. High pitched, like, no, thank you, dear, for giving me faith in angels once more. And then Muriel disappeared into gold dust as they were sent to the bookshop, an untraceable miracle upon them. Crowley would look after them. Quickly, angels rounded the corner. Metatron was at the front of them, rage on his face. Aziraphale smiled devilishly at them before releasing his Raphael form. Hear me now, angels, he boomed. Muriel is gone and dealt with. You seriously think a small angel like them could fool an archangel like me? Metatron raised his arm in front of his eyes as a gale began to blow towards the angels. Lightning began to strike around him. I am Raphael, and I am an archangel. I destroyed the Book of Life and the plans for the second coming. I am the powerful one. Suddenly, he returned to his regular form and smiled pleasantly, clapping his hands. Now, will one of you lovely angels cuff me? No. Now, will one of you lovely angels cuff me? Okay, chapter 18. We're home run. We're getting there. We're speed running. Okay, and badonk and badonk. Chapter 18. The Fall. Aziraphale's face was expressionless as he was marched through the tunnel. He would hold his head high, right until the end of his angelicness. He would not tremble, he would not show fear, he would not let them have satisfaction. Suddenly, he was going up some steps, and the familiar light of heaven gave way for the burning light of a new dawn. He squinted for a moment at the sudden change. Slowly, he began to adjust, and he realized he was heading to a new kind of Colosseum. His eyes slid from side to side. His eyes slid from side to side, but his head did not move. The trial grounds were nothing compared to this. It glowed a gentle white, with the sky above them. There were so many angels he could never hope to count. There was even a row of dominions. Well, he was glad to know he was so popular. Finally, he stood in the center. There was Metatron, looking thoroughly disappointed. Angels were watching silently, not even discussing with their peers. He'd much rather they yelled and hollered. Yet when he glanced over, he saw something strange. Some angels seemed to be showing sympathy, almost respect. His lips curved up in a small smile. At least he was going down in a blaze of glory. Aziraphale, you fool! Metatron spoke in a low voice to him. I laid everything out for you, for Raphael. It was so simple. How could you fail so miserably? Dumb luck, I suppose, he responded cheerily. I love that line. I know you're not meant to, laugh at your own stories or whatever, but I really like that line. Metatron sneered before turning to address the crowd. Angels of heaven, we are gathered here today to witness the fall of Aziraphale, who has undeniably admitted his guilt in the destruction of the Book of Life and the private documents of the Second Coming. In doing so, he has committed great sin and acted against the will of the Almighty. Aziraphale could hear his heartbeat. He had prepared for this. He was ready. But was he? Standing here, knowing any moment it would happen. He was terrified. He had put on a brave face, but deep down, he hurt to know that the precious innocent angel he had protected in his heart for so long would soon be burnt to a crisp. Such was the price of peace. If anyone has any objections, speak now, or, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Aziraphale's eyes widened and turned to see none other than Crowley himself. How on earth did he get up here? Muriel must have told him. Oh, that angel was very sweet, but couldn't keep a secret, apparently. Crowley, what are you? Well, you see, Your Honor, Crowley mocked. No, sorry. Well, you see, Your Honor, Crowley mocked, addressing Metatron. This whole self-sacrificial business is my job, and I rather enjoy it, so if you could just release my angel. Foul demon, yelled Metatron. You are a fallen angel. You have no right to desecrate. Blah, blah, blah. You angels are all so boring. At least you got a better service than when us lot fell, hey, angel? Crowley strolled over to Aziraphale, miracling away the cuffs around Aziraphale's wrists. Right, shall we go then? Aziraphale was stunned for a moment, unsure what to say. Then he furrowed his eyebrows, looking like a peacock with ruffled feathers. Crowley, you don't understand. If I fall, then heaven will finally leave us alone. They can't hurt us anymore. They have no reason to. His expression then softened. If I don't, they'll hound us and Muriel until someone is punished. I chose to destroy the Book of Life to protect us, and I shall foot the bill. Let me do this for us. Nah, Crowley smirked. Don't feel like it. All that stuff is just boring. We've dodged it before. We'll just go hide away somewhere. Come on, let me tempt you. There was a sad look in Aziraphale's eyes. We can't just run away all the time. We have to face it now. One last push. Crowley growled, turning around a bit and looking at the sky in frustration. He suspected a string of curses were going through the demon's mind right now. Angel, you don't understand what it's like to fall. It really bloody hurts. You don't saunter vaguely downwards, you plummet. And there's nothing pleasant waiting for you at the bottom. You say you're doing this for me, right? Then don't do it. Don't make me suffer watching you fall. Crowley's voice was pleading, and he felt as if his heart was about to shatter into a million pieces. So vulnerable, so pleading. He was reminded of that day in the bookshop. He just wanted to... I just want to protect you. No, I just want to protect you. Why won't you let me? He cried desperately. Because I love you too much to let you suffer the way I did. Crowley extended his hand. Choose me this time. Choose us. It was so blunt, so real. Should he really just leave? Could they? There were so many angels here, they barely stood a chance. Logically, it wouldn't work. They wouldn't make it more than a few steps. Oh, to hell with logic. Aziraphale stepped forward to take Crowley's hand. They could do it. They could... I condemn you to fall, bellowed Metatron. Aziraphale's eyes widened as he looked at Crowley. Crowley's expression was suddenly full of pure horror, an expression he had never seen on the demon and wished to never see again. He felt the floor give way, and he didn't even have the chance for his wings to spring as he was falling down, down. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his wrist. He looked up to see Crowley kneeling on the surface, reaching down to grasp Aziraphale. He could feel a strong pull forcing them down. Aziraphale's wings were now out, but they could do nothing against the force of the pull. He had no choice. Crowley, you have to let go or you'll fall too. You've already fallen once. Who knows what will happen if you go twice? I've done it once, Crowley sneered. I can damn well do it again if needs be. Just use your wings. Crowley, that's not going to... Just do it for somebody's... No, for my sake. Aziraphale furrowed his brows and flapped his wings with as much force as he could muster. He had to fight. He couldn't give up. He could make it. He was going up. He landed roughly on heaven's floor. He had done it. Crowley, we... Horror flooded his senses as he realized Crowley wasn't there. No, he hadn't flown up. Crowley had propelled him up there. He rushed back to the ledge, desperate. Crowley was falling again. No! Aziraphale dove back down, using his wings this time to fly down to Crowley. Crowley was already unconscious, but outwardly didn't seem too damaged. As he got closer, he realized his wings were feeling significantly warmer than they were before. Were they going to... No, it didn't matter. He finally reached Crowley, cradling the demon's body as if it were life himself. To him, it was. He fought to fly upwards, not making any progress and still falling. He suddenly felt a burning sensation in his wings. He glanced over to see flames beginning to spark on them. He looked away, fighting back the pain as he fought to fly upwards, shielding Crowley from the effects of burning. Why couldn't he fly up? Right, Raphael could do this even if he couldn't. He desperately fought to transform his wings. Why weren't they coming out? Was the velocity too strong? He had to... Tears began to... He had to! Tears began to stream from his eyes as he realized how useless he was. Crowley was going to discorporate all because of him. Why couldn't he have just listened to Crowley? Why did he always think he was in the right? Why... Crowley moved a little, and Aziraphale was suddenly aware once more of the warmth protected within his arms. And for a moment, the flames of love drowned out those set on destroying his wings. The thoughts of regret and pain were replaced with memories. Memories of dining at the Ritz, their quiet nights at the bookshop, their magic act on Broadway, their drink in Rome, the little flowers Crowley had sent him, when they had confessed their feelings. Finally, Aziraphale smiled. His wings suddenly duplicated. Here were the rings of Raphael. Here were the wings of Raphael. He was exhausted now, but he had the chance. He had to keep fighting. He flapped his wings with more ferocity than before, a look of determination in his eyes. Finally, he was making some distance. He roared at the skies in defiance of heaven, in defiance of everyone. No one would take Crowley from him, ever again. Finally, they reached the surface, and Aziraphale stumbled a couple of times, landing on the floor but using his body to shield Crowley. He created an energy field around them, blocking out the erupting whispers of angels. He panted as he tried to regain his breath from exertion, his wings returning to the form of his own. But what was more painful was the unconscious demon in front of him. He rested Crowley's upper half on his lap, cradling Crowley, desperation edging at his voice. Crowley, Crowley, please wake up. We didn't fully fall. You must be fine, surely. Crowley. Tears flooded from his eyes. Had it all been for nothing? No, it couldn't be too late. It couldn't be. Coughs suddenly erupted from the demon, and a weak smile appeared on the demon's lips. Pretty impressive, Angel. Aziraphale let out a sob of relief and hugged Crowley tightly. Crowley hugged Aziraphale back desperately, his hands clinging to Aziraphale's jacket. But suddenly, Crowley let go and looked wildly at Aziraphale's wings. Angel, your wings, they're burnt. 2 more chapters in the epilogue to go. We're home run. Home run, bro. Hydration. So you probably have like 40 minutes to go with that. And then I'll edit it and it'll be yummy scrummy and I'll have the art for it. Chapter 19. Revelations. Aziraphale turned a little as he pulled his wings forward. Crowley watched with anxiousness. Damn it, why hadn't he gotten here sooner? Now Aziraphale's gorgeous wings had been sullied by the filth of heaven. Well, they're not fully burnt, and you're still here, so theoretically I didn't completely fall. Can you heal them? Crowley asked gently. Well, I suppose I could try. Aziraphale placed his hands upon his wings, encouraging healing and repair. He seemingly had no luck. No, I suppose fall damage is from a higher authority than Head Archangel, if I still technically have that position. Do they hurt? He asked tentatively, gently caressing his angel's wings, being careful to avoid the charred part. Aziraphale seemed a little flustered at that. No, not too badly. That was a lie. A rather obvious one, too. I mean, as painless as burnt wings are. Aziraphale suddenly paused for a moment as he mentally checked his body for damage. I can still feel my halo, so this means we stopped falling just in time. Crowley sighed in relief. They were both okay, at least for now. You two really are the scum of heaven, two of the same. The two turned to see Metatron, looming there. Crowley stood, instantly full of rage, but found himself stumbling a little. He felt a hand against his back, steadying him. Aziraphale. Careful, dear, muttered said Angel under his breath. Even if we didn't fall, I'm sure it did a number on you. You're not in much better shape, he replied, quickly regretting the sharpness of his voice. Aziraphale, Head Archangel, was sentenced to fall. Regardless of how big you two think you are, you cannot interfere with the divinity and sanctity of heaven's punishments. Crowley chuckled. He could practically see steam coming out of the Metatron's ears. Yeah, sorry about that, didn't quite work. So, we'll just be on our way, he replied cheerily. Not so fast. Metatron placed a hand in front of him, and suddenly Aziraphale and Crowley were locked in some kind of bubble. He looked down to see a circle of ancient angelic scripture surrounding them. Damn it. Now, if I'm correct, then you cannot stand to fall again. Those awful wings of yours look thoroughly damaged. I suggest you say your prayers now. For a moment, Crowley couldn't think of what to do. He looked down at the scriptures, and they seemed to be handwritten by Metatron himself, meaning they need a very high-ranking angel to break it down. Come on, there must be some way to escape this. In a panic, he turned into a snake form, and a very large snake at that. He wrapped himself around the perimeter, hissing at Metatron, who stumbled back a bit. Hello, hello, hello! Make way, make way! Crowley turned to see Muriel walking towards them through the crowds. Metatron growled, but then his eyes widened in surprise. Crowley couldn't believe it either. Gabriel and Beelzebub. Hello, Crowley. Long time. Beelzebub tilted their head. Crowley narrowed his eyes in response. Calm down, we're here to help you. You're lucky this little angel's come to help you. Rather smart they are. They winked at Muriel, who smiled cheerily. He was sad to see Muriel's wings were still bandaged. Well, Aziraphale could probably heal them given the chance. More importantly, just why on earth were they here? I've come with a proposition. They stood fairly close to Metatron, rolling on the balls of their feet. Well, I don't really think you can disagree with it, but Gabriel said I should say it anyway to be polite. Gabriel cleared his throat. Oh, right, okay. So, the thing is, there was a super secret book Gabriel and Beelzebub found and asked me to decipher. It was a bit difficult to read until I realised it was ancient angelic scripture. I knew I'd read about it before, so I secretly snuck into heaven while everyone was busy and decoded it. What are you on about? Metatron sneered. Oh, sorry, but don't worry, I'm getting to it, they grinned. So, basically, heaven and hell weren't meant to be separated forever. Basically, you guys messed up about the whole eternity thing. It was technically meant to come after the second coming, but we might as well start it now. Eternity was never meant to be a big war. It was meant to be peace and unity. Brother. There we go. Crowley finally shrunk down, intrigued, and settled himself upon Aziraphale's shoulders, still protective. Beelzebub smirked, and he hissed at them. They rolled their eyes, their smirk not disappearing. Let me see that document clearly as forged. I can't give it to you, unfortunately. Can't risk you destroying it. It was now Crowley noticed the book safely in Gabriel's arms. Anyway, you can't destroy these two, if you want peace anytime soon, that is. Well, how do you get the supposed peace? Surely God would have told me, Metatron seethed. You haven't actually been talking to God, have you? Aziraphale suddenly spoke up. You've been trying to cover things up. I should have been punished a lot more than I was. Your actions haven't exactly been moral, have they? You don't know my relationship with the Almighty, Metatron cried. Where was this even found? Alpha Centauri, Gabriel finally spoke up. We went to the planet to live in a seclusion and found this book. It looks like it was cast away or something. That's an awful accent, but we vibe with it. It looks like it was cast away or something. We didn't have time to decipher it all, but what we got is pretty important. That book, it's clearly made of sin. Anything in it is sin, Metatron cried. No matter what it says about angels and demons, Angels and demons? Beelzebub raised her eyebrows. We hadn't actually mentioned that. Only peace. Do you know something about this book, Metatron? Metatron took a step back. No, Nah, I'm just messing with you. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Beelzebub chuckled. We already know you're involved. No, you have no evidence of such... No, you have no evidence of such thing. Who would trust a demon? Gabriel raised his hand. Aziraphale did the same. Oh, fuck both of you. You two are... You, Metatron growled. Crowley hissed at him. Right, Muriel? Beelzebub gestures towards Muriel. Oh, yes, Muriel straightened up. Well, you see, heaven and hell are meant to be one. Each angel was destined to be with a fallen angel. God allowed them to sin to create balance. Heaven was to be good and holy, whereas hell was meant to be dark and evil. This would create theoretical equality. However, this wasn't quite true. Heaven had corruption in it and hell had goodness. However, when an angel and a demon surpass their expectations, can true equality be found, and therefore peace from their union? What do you mean union? Aziraphale asked. I can only translate part of it, but it was something about an earth tradition between an angel and a demon to unite all three levels of being. I'm not sure what it is, Muriel explained earnestly. Union? Oh, wedding, Aziraphale exclaimed. So the solution is... I will not let you do this. Metatron raised his hand. He was going to make them fall once more. Horror filled Crowley's senses. He quickly changed back into a bigger snake, trying to break through the barrier. Not now. Suddenly, Metatron could not move his arm. Crowley looked around to see Uriel, who had stepped past the stands and was standing near Metatron, raising his hand and using a miracle to hold Metatron's arm back. Suddenly, the minions swarmed forward, each restraining Metatron back. One of them swiped away the writing on the barrier, and Crowley and Aziraphale quickly stepped outside of it. Metatron looked almost feral. "You awful angels! I was trying to protect you. We are the higher being. We deserve more. We deserve to reign supreme, to indulge in human desires, us and us alone." He threw his head back. "God, you fiend! You awful creature! You'll forsake us to live alongside demons? Why must you hate us so?" Finally, he collapsed as one Dominion swiped their hand. "We'll deal with him," they uttered in a low voice. They then turned to Muriel. "We expect a full update later." Muriel looked surprised for a moment before eagerly nodding. Finally, things calmed down, and Crowley returned to his humanoid form. Angels were swarming out of the stands. Aziraphale turned to Crowley. "Right, Angel, how are we feeling about a wedding?" Crowley smirked. He hoped he didn't look as absolutely nervous as he felt. "I will tell you my feelings," Aziraphale took Crowley's hand, "when you tell me yours. If we are to do something like this, it's because we want to. Heaven and hell be damned." Crowley was caught off guard by this. "Choosing yourself over the greater good," Crowley teased. "I'm impressed." He then placed an arm around Aziraphale's waist. "Shockingly, though, I think my desires line up with heaven this time. You really did make a difference this time, Angel." Aziraphale chuckled. And I believe mine line up with hell's." Aziraphale then leant up and left a kiss on the demon's lips. Chapter 20 and then the epilogue to go, gamers. Okay. Home run. "I am an angel, you are a demon. Enemies, enemies, heredity, enemies." Okay. Chapter 20. Bells of Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell had been in a state of chaos. There was resistance on both sides to this new movement. Some were still thoroughly opposed to each other. "We won't associate with them." Others believed the book to be false. "It was brought here by traitors. How do we know it's real?" But also, the rulers of heaven and hell were doing a rather good job at quelling it. Funnily enough, it was the lower ranks that were celebrating the success even more thoroughly. After all, they weren't set to be destroyed anymore in the Second Coming. Supposedly, the union of Aziraphale and Crowley would create an eternity without the need for destruction, through peace. But perhaps the most in a flurry about this was the couple in question. You see, wedding planning is a hassle for a mere human wedding, even with a year in advance. But these two had over 6,000 years of history, and only a day to prepare it. Sure, they could have had a much smaller affair, but that takes out all the flair from it, doesn't it? Thankfully for them, they had a little angel to help them, and their two new angel and demon friends. Aziraphale was currently at the Ritz, trying to explain to the staff how perfect their evening must be. The plan was to have the initial ceremony on Earth and then a grand celebration upon the Falling Grounds, removing its history of punishment and cruelty and remaking it as a place of love and unity. And then, after all that, they would dine here together. They started all this together, and they'd end it so. Just them. "Right, you must play this song upon our entrance," Aziraphale commanded, handing over some money. He had already forked over a small fortune to perfect everything. He had made sure everything was to be in place. They'd have the most romantic evening. Finally, mostly reassured, he returned to heaven for his suit fitting. Meanwhile, a particular demon was stuck in a jeweller's. He had insisted he would be the one to get the rings. He wanted them to be perfect. But then, all these rings seemed to be so incredibly boring. A plain band seemed much too simple for them. But then, would Aziraphale want a very eccentric ring? He rolled his eyes, leaning on the counter. Everything was always so difficult. It's not that he didn't want to marry Aziraphale. He had fantasized about it many times. But he had always pictured it so differently. A quiet candlelit dinner, or maybe a calm night at the bookshop. Not in the middle of heaven, right after all that. But once this was over, they'd finally have peace. No reason to hide. Sure, there'd still be controversy, but if the book was true, and it very likely was, then they'd be on the same side for good, and the other angels and demons would have to deal with it. He sighed, looking back at the rings again. But then he realised he'd been looking at it the wrong way. He'd always gone by his own terms, his and Aziraphale's terms. That wasn't going to change now. He picked out one silver ring and one dark-coloured ring and pocketed them. He'd do this his way. Sorry, I keep closing the TikTok live chat. I need that. A few hours later, Heaven was almost prepared for the wedding. The trial grounds had been tidied and decorated. Michael didn't see the point of it, so it was a good thing Muriel was put in charge instead. They didn't really understand much about human weddings, save for the little snippets in the books they'd read, so they were basing it on that. First, they'd left a daisy on each seat and a piece of paper with the marriage of Aziraphale and Crowley written on it. They weren't sure why humans liked to leave a piece of paper, but they wanted to do the best they could for their friends. They'd even managed to get a flower arch for the centre for the vows to be done, and put a few chairs near it for the front row. Aziraphale and Crowley were deemed to be closer friends. They were thrilled to find out they got one of those seats when they told Aziraphale. Crowley had even approved Gabriel and Beelzebub to sit there. What amused them the most, however, was that Metatron would be forced to watch the ceremony as well. It was deemed to be part of a just punishment for the foul angel, watching everything he fought to destroy thrive in front of him. Now he'd shown his true colours, he was the shame of the angelic realm. He was good to use an example as well. Now that angels and demons were going to be united, there was certainly to be some rebels. Oh well, that could be quelled. Finally, angels and demons began to file in. Gabriel and Beelzebub were the first to arrive, sitting in the designated chairs. Beelzebub seemed to be a little uncomfortable being so front and centre, but Gabriel was doing a good job of distracting them. Muriel was at the door greeting everyone. All three were dressed up in their finest clothes. Is this the, wedding, was it? One asked, seeming a little confused but quite excited nonetheless. Yep, I'm welcoming everyone. It's common at weddings, they informed. Oh, right, they extended their hand. Thanks for welcoming me. I'm Eric. I'm Muriel, they replied, shaking his hand. Pleasure to meet you. He grinned, but was suddenly shoved out of the way as another demon became impatient and pushed past. He waved as he was pushed away towards the seats, and Muriel waved back before returning to their greetings. Crowley and Aziraphale would arrive much later. It was human tradition for the bride to walk down the aisle, but in this case there were two grooms. The two had contemplated one of them turning to their female forms, but they decided to stay in their current forms as it was the most comfortable for now. They would both walk towards the aisle from separate sides, symbolizing the unity of heaven and hell. This was their preferred way. Finally, the rows were full of angels and demons. Frustratingly, the angels and demons seemed to have segregated themselves to opposite sides, but that would be fine for now. They had no choice after this. Right, remember, you bring these to us the moment Lekabel, the officiating demon, ask for them, okay? Crowley commanded. Crowley handed over the cushion bearing the rings to Muriel, who nodded their head eagerly. The fate of the three realms rested on their hands. Oh, so exciting. Yes, I've got it. Good luck, they replied, before leaving to return to their seat and prepare to bring the rings. Finally, Crowley was left alone in his room. He had chosen a nice, neat suit with a long and elegant tailcoat. He wore high-heeled boots with his outfit, adding a lovely aspect of class to his outfit. He had even changed his regular sunglasses for gem-studded ones. He wasn't quite comfortable yet sharing his vulnerabilities to the entirety of heaven and hell, but he'd remove them for Aziraphale. Finally, a bell began to ring. This was it. He took a few deep breaths and raised the curtains. Oh, damn, there were a lot of guests here. There was a lot of guests here. But then his eyes locked onto Aziraphale, also nervously peeking out of the curtains. And his heart melted. He slowly raised his trembling hands. he took his sunglasses and he dropped them to the floor, stepping on them. He didn't need them. Not anymore. Not with Aziraphale. He took a deep breath and took a step forward. He kept walking. Aziraphale was walking towards him and looking stunning in a Victorian-era outfit. His angel was positively beaming. His anxiousness suddenly dissipated, and he walked forward proudly. His angel. His soon-to-be husband. Perhaps God wasn't as evil as he thought. Finally, the two met in the middle. Lucabelle began reciting the traditional wedding speech, but neither of the two soon-to-be weds were bothered. They were too busy watching each other, nothing but love in their eyes. They didn't dare speak and interrupt, but they didn't need to. After more than 6,000 years of talking, they could finally just be, coexist, find their peace. Please may you bring forth the rings, so the grooms may do their vows, Lucabelle called out. Aziraphale's eyes fell upon them, and he let out a small gasp. Crowley smiled softly at his angel's look of adoration. He had crafted them himself, using a miracle in his imagination. The black ring was Aziraphale's, in the shape of one wing. Crowley's was white, with a wing on the other side. Together, they created a heart shape, two halves of the same whole. Oh, Crowley, they're gorgeous. Aziraphale looked up. Crowley looked up, his hand extended for Aziraphale so he could put the ring on. Aziraphale obliged, his expression full of love. Crowley lowered their hands but didn't let go. Okay, you know I'm not the best of words, but Angel, we've never been good with words. We've spent an eternity avoiding them, but also I'd like to spend an eternity learning just how to love and to express it with you. There is no one I'd rather spend my immortal lifetime with than you, Angel. So I'll start us off with a few words. I love you. I'm dying. Aziraphale tilted his head a little as he smiled. A few tears dotted in the angel's eyes. He then raised the hands once more and placed the white ring upon Crowley's finger. He then kissed it and looked up to Crowley. Crowley, you have always been here for me, always willing to care for me, always willing to forgive. And I want you to know that I will always be here for you, whether you're an angel, a demon, or a human. You will always be more than enough for me, and I will try to be the absolute best I could ever be with you, because you deserve the world. Crowley smiled. Oh, Angel, how could I ask for more than perfection? And now, began Licorice, you are now husband and husband. You may now... Too late for that, as the two were already embraced in a loving kiss. They pulled away and pressed their foreheads against each other. They were to be together forever. Click. Suddenly, something felt different. They looked up. They were somewhere else. They weren't sure where, but they were. It seemed to be some kind of gently glowing room, and they appeared to be standing on clouds. Crowley kept his arms wrapped firmly around his angel as he looked around. Was it all a trick? Was it a lie? Was this just some grand form of punishment? No. They had just come to visit me. Who's there? Show yourself, Crowley yelled. Calm down, a voice rang out. Crowley suddenly froze, and Aziraphale gently pulled away, still holding Crowley's hand. God? The form of a woman suddenly appeared, smiling and gentle. This was far from the cruel image Crowley was used to, the one who casted him away. Yes, it is me. I have come to congratulate you personally. Come to us, Crowley sneered. Where the hell are we? You clearly brought us here. I do apologize, she chuckled. Sorry, it's been so long since I've spoken to someone properly. Someone who speaks to me as an equal, not someone who treats me as a deity. But you're God, asked Aziraphale. Don't you want people to treat you as, well, God? You'd think that, wouldn't you? She stepped closer. That's what I wanted, I think, when I first came to be. But being the only one on your level, well, it's so incredibly lonely. I wished I had learnt that lesson earlier. Yeah, well, you cast half of us angels away. Not the best conversation starter, hissed Crowley. You're right, it isn't, she sighed. And I've spent so long trying to fix it, when all along, I needed you too. You see, I cast away my most precious creations, my angels, including you, Crowley. But you'll have to forgive me for taking favourites, but the most dear to me was Lucifer. Lucifer is the reason I cast you all away. I came too close to him. He showed me affection, made me feel love, so I cast him away. And then he built his own revolution. I didn't realise how far it'd go. I couldn't let that happen again. Any angel that had love for another, each angel was cast away through my own anger and sadness. I thought this meant their hearts were tainted, yet I didn't realise it was I who had tainted them in truth by causing them to suffer in hell for so long. I didn't realise only true equality could come through darkness and light together. Oh, boo-hoo! Your mood swings don't justify what you did to us all, yelled Crowley. You're right, it didn't. I still haven't justified it. But I'm not searching for forgiveness. I just wished to fix my mistake. So I gave the gift of healing unto you, Aziraphale, in the form of Raphael, only to be unleashed when the time of need was greatest. Metatron believed that would be the war to end all wars. He couldn't understand love. When I gave him the book of my mistakes and how to fix them, he cast them away to the stars, where Beelzebub and Gabriel found it. They only found it through their decision of love. With this failing at the time, I made it so you two could keep meeting. You two who changed the norms. You never expressed true hatred for each other, ever. You showed true, deep love. And beyond that, you tried to heal Earth, too. You remember Jane Austen, yes? Around that time, I was presenting as a male. It was the most respectable thing, and that's what humans would respect me as. But you helped me introduce women to the literary world, and you gave women power. And for once, I felt I would be a respectable woman god. I knew you two were the key. Heaven and hell are now unified through your love. Our love is not for you to decide or for your advantage. It is our own, Aziraphale cried. Yes, you're right, God smiled at them. Your love is your own, and that's what everyone needed. Your love was not from my divine intervention. It was yours and yours alone that saved everyone. I swear I shall not let any more angels fall. It is why I left Metatron where he was, despite his disobedience. For I regret my mistakes. Suddenly, someone appeared in the distance. God laughed a little. Speak of the devil, she began. And he shall appear, replied Lucifer, raising his eyebrows and folding his arms. You two, I have some unfinished business. But I swear to you, I will no longer intervene in your lives. As your wedding present, I grant you freedom. Do you wish to continue in your role, Aziraphale, as Raphael, to heal heaven? It is a kind gift, Aziraphale begun, but my life is not yours to use. I do not wish to continue this way. However, I do believe there is another angel who'd love to have such a job. God smiled, and suddenly a necklace with a large stone appeared around Aziraphale's neck. Then so be it. This stone contains the power of Raphael. It is yours to protect and to pass on as you please. Aziraphale nodded. God turned to Crowley. For what it's worth, she began, I truly am sorry. I forgive you, Crowley replied, his voice much calmer than before, but still with an aspect of malice. But I will not forget. I did not expect as much, so I thank you, Good nodded. I shall send you back to your prior locations. Actually, Aziraphale interrupted. There is somewhere special I'd like you to send us. Good smiled. Then it shall be. The last thing the now husband saw was God and Lucifer holding hands. That night, at the Ritz, an angel and a demon were dining. No one knew who they were, but they could tell the two were very much in love. They clinked their glasses together, smiling. To us, one spoke. To us, the other agreed. A nightingale sang that night. And that means we're on the epilogue, yeah. I need to hydrate. Home run. Okay. Need to click that. And then I need to click that. Chapter 21. Ineffable Husbands. Epilogue. Ready to go? Crowley called out as he leaned on the doorway. Yes, just coming, Aziraphale called out, coming towards the door, a picnic basket balanced on the inside of his elbow. Muriel was following with drinks. He cheerily walked to the car. Crowley gave him a quick kiss on the cheek as Aziraphale passed him, the angel placing the picnic basket in the boot and letting Muriel follow suit with the bottles. Soon, everyone was in the car as they drove away. Oh, I've got to sing now. Okay. I don't know if I can sing this one. That certain night, the night we met. That sounded really off. Okay, I'm gonna redo that. It'll be so peak, trust, even though I can't sing this song. That certain night, the night we met. You two always play this song. Do you really just like it that much? Muriel asked curiously. Oh, yes, Crowley smiled. It's my absolute favourite. Oh, replied Muriel. But, can we listen to one of those Queen songs? Well, Crowley smirked, since you're twisting my arm. Muriel knew better than to comment they couldn't reach Crowley's arm from the back. Ooh, lover boy. Oh, you and your beatbop, Aziraphale rolled his eyes. You love it, Crowley teased. Not particularly, Aziraphale smirked. You're lucky that I do love you. You're right, Crowley chuckled. I am lucky indeed. Finally, they arrived at a little grassy park with flowers bordering the perimeter. Crowley pulled out the picnic blanket and set it down, and Aziraphale began setting up the food. Muriel was placing the cutlery and the serviettes to Aziraphale's request. They were always happy to oblige. Crowley was never massively partial to food, so instead he laid down, his head resting on Aziraphale's lap. He did hold a glass of red wine in his hand, at the threat of murder if he spilt it on the freshly washed picnic mat. Muriel was indulging in some cake. Aziraphale was glad Aziraphale was glad he introduced them to it, and Aziraphale had his eyes closed, taking in the warmth. His necklace glinted in the sun. Angel, Aziraphale opened his eyes to look at Crowley. When are you going to give them the necklace? You know you can't guard it forever. No, you're right. Aziraphale glanced up at Muriel, who was happily eating their cake. One day I'll give it to them. But for now, they're quite happy eating cake, and I think that's enough for now. Fair enough. Crowley closed his eyes. And I'm quite happy resting here. Aziraphale chuckled. I love you, Crowley. Love you too, Crowley replied, and your very comfortable lap. And so it all ends where it began, in a garden. What? I told them I wouldn't interfere. Doesn't mean I can't watch. And that's the end. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Smash that like button, guys. Subscribe. No, I enjoyed that. I hadn't read it for a while. So yeah. I wrote it years ago, so when I read it to make sure that it at least made sense, I really enjoyed it, which is funny. So I hope people enjoy listening to the audiobook when it's like all edited and done. Okay. Bye then, guys.